Howard and Clarissa Ferrin were a married couple from Miami, Florida. Howard was a well-to-do businessman, and Clarissa was a high school teacher. In the midst of a midlife crisis, their marriage was going through some turbulence, so the couple chose to isolate themselves from friends and family and go on an adventure, sailing through the dense mangrove forests of the Everglades with hope that this time spent only with each other would strengthen their relationship. It was the start of a beautiful morning. Clarissa prepared some tea and joined Howard on the deck. Look at that! Howard took a glance at a tropical bird nestle onto one of the mangroves. Wow, a snowy egret. It wasn't much long ago that plume hunters nearly wiped out the population. Not just this bird, but other exotic species across the Everglades. A fashion trend of that time that took out 95% of Florida's shorebirds. Plumes, you mean the decorative feathers used in hat making. Millinery. Howard sailed into the narrow openings between the mangrove islands. The couple enjoyed the morning breeze, the sight of tropical flowers beginning to bloom, the gentle waves of the murky waters. We wanted to get down and barbecue, but it looks like there's no dry land at all. It's wet everywhere. Well, these mangrove forests are usually flooded during high tides and dry during low tides. But it is the start of the wet season. So we won't be able to get down? No, in coastal regions high tides and low tides alternate twice a day, so we'll probably get the chance to explore during the low tide, but I don't think you want to. If you take a wrong step, you might find yourself knee-deep in mud. Oh, it won't be that bad. You're here with me. Clarissa and Howard soaked in the sun, relaxing on the deck as they continued to sail in the peace, quiet, and serenity. However, it was sometime midday. As they were sailing into a broader channel of water, they suddenly heard a sound, a voice calling out, "Help! Help! Over here!" Howard and Clarissa scanned the area when they spotted a young man on one of the mangrove islands. Howard steered the boat in his direction, getting a better view of the man. It seemed he had been stranded out here. As he neared the yacht towards the mud bank, the young man approached them, limping on one of his legs. Howard took out his rifle and pointed it at him. "What are you doing out here?" "Thank you for stopping, sir. My name is Trevor. I'm from the Florida Keys Islands, and I came here to harvest honey, fruit, and fish. But after I arrived, I got stuck in a storm. The area became flooded. I just barely managed to get myself on this island. I've been here for about 4 days. Will you please help me get back to the shore?" "Where is your boat?" "It got damaged in the storm, sir. It must have washed away into the mangroves. It could be anywhere." Clarissa sensed Howard was reluctant to allow the young man onto the yacht. But when she noticed his leg had been injured, and the desperateness on his face, she called Howard aside. "Sweetheart, help the man. If you leave him here, how long is he going to survive?" Howard turned to Trevor. "What have you got on you?" "Sir, I don't have much with me. My fishing kit, my crab net, a small mushroom knife, and my gun." Trevor quickly rushed to open his bag. "These are just some fruits from the mangroves and some crabs. This is what I've been surviving off of, and this is the bucket of honey I've collected." "All right, you can come, but you have to hand over your knife and your gun. You can have it when we return to shore, and we'll be traveling quite some distance around the coast, so it will be long before we reach land." "Thank you so much, sir." Trevor picked up the bag and stepped into the waters before he boarded the yacht. As Howard inspected his things, Clarissa quickly put some soup onto the stove and brought out the first aid kit from the cabin. "You're quite injured. You should get that rest," she said, taking out some gauze and cotton balls. "When you're done, come join us at the table. I've warmed some soup for you." "Thank you, miss. That was very kind of you." Trevor wrapped the bandages around his wound and took some honey from the bucket before he joined the couple. "This honey can only be harvested seasonally here. We can have this." Clarissa politely smiled as she served Trevor. "This smells wonderful, miss. I'm having food like this after a long time." Howard watched as Trevor had the soup, occasionally passing a glance at his wife. He couldn't help but notice how he was checking out Clarissa. "So what exactly do you do?" he sternly asked. "I run a small business. These mangroves are abundant with fish, particularly shrimp and crab, but I also sell various medicinal plants, wood, and, as you saw, honey and fruit." "Living by such small means?" "Yes, sir," Trevor quietly said. Trying to rid the uneasiness, he looked up at the skies. "It's getting cloudy. It might become difficult to steer the boat. The storms can be pretty severe here." "I guess you've never set foot on a yacht like this." "No, sir. This is my first time." "These mangroves are actually the safest place to sail during storms. But just in case the winds are too strong, we'll anchor the yacht down. This yacht has 2 additional anchors, and a lifeboat if all else goes wrong." "Oh, my boat didn't have all these features." "Well, not everyone can afford a yacht like this." Trevor nodded his head awkwardly. "Yes, sir." Howard let out a deep breath as he got up to check the navigation. Clarissa watched as Trevor sat there quietly. Howard had treated him rather harshly. "I think I see an island up ahead. Can we stop there and barbecue?" "Sure. The waters have started to decrease. This is our chance." It was late in the afternoon when Clarissa began preparing her grill and food items. "Aren't you going to get off?" "I'll be fine here, miss." "Don't mind him. He can be a little rude sometimes," she said, trying to lighten the mood. "No, miss. Sir is right. We are poor." "Why don't you help me take down the grill?" "Yes, miss." Clarissa showed Trevor the equipment before she got off the yacht. The soil was soft and wet, but firm enough to walk. She set out into the mangroves when she spotted a few wild mushrooms. She took out the mushroom knife she had kept from Howard and cut a few. Trevor had been kind enough to set up the grill and start the fire, while Howard brought out the chairs and relaxed in the shade. Clarissa had packed some chicken for the journey beforehand, and with the mushrooms, some cayenne, and smoked pepper, it would be a perfect combination. "The food turned out delicious, sweetheart." "I'm glad you liked it," Clarissa said, serving Howard seconds. Taking a bite into the chicken, Trevor nodded. "I once visited the city. Big buildings, busy streets, everyone has cars, everyone is so rich." "Yes, everyone is rich. I have a real estate business in Miami, and Clarissa even has a proper job. She's a school teacher." Howard watched as Trevor gulped down the food bite after bite without any hesitation. "But you perhaps must not have gone far with your studies, starting this small business at such a young age?" "Yes, sir. I only studied till the 8th grade." Like I thought. You're not very educated." Howard turned to Clarissa and smirked. "Perhaps you can make good use of this time and teach him some manners." Hearing Howard's comment, Trevor put down his food. "Thank you for the meal, sir," he said as he got up and went towards the yacht. Clarissa sighed, looking at Trevor's unfinished plate. Did you really have to be like that? Suddenly, a light rain began to drizzle. Looks like we'll all have to get going. Unfortunately, the water had decreased so much during the low tide that the yacht was stuck in the mud, and the 3 would have to wait till the waters would increase again. As it neared sunset, the rain began to pour a little heavier and the winds began to pick up. "Why don't you go inside, Clarissa, and Trevor and I will set up the canopy." "Yes, sir, what will I have to do?" Howard handed Trevor one of the corners of the tarp, while he tied the other to the rod. "Why don't you tie it to the other side?" "Yes, sir." Trevor tried to follow Howard's directions and began tying the tarp. But the material was quite heavy, and in the gusts of wind and his wounded leg, Trevor kept losing balance and eventually slipped over. That's when Howard hurried to get hold of the tarp, a bit angered. "You eat like an animal and behave like a woman," he said, taking hold of the tarp and putting it up himself. Trevor got up and looked at Clarissa, feeling awfully embarrassed. The rest of the evening, he sat on the deck by himself without a word. Come time for dinner, Clarissa prepared the table and went to call Trevor again. "Come join us for dinner." "That will be all right, miss. I'm not hungry." Later on that night, the rain had stopped and the skies cleared out. Clarissa brought out a pillow and some blankets for Trevor. "If you need anything, just let me know," she said, trying to be polite. It was sometime in the middle of the night, however, that Howard woke up to a noise inside the cabin. He turned on his bedside lamp, alarmed to see Trevor. "What are you doing here? You were supposed to be sleeping on the deck." "Yes, sir. I was actually having a hard time sleeping because of the pain. Would you please give me some painkillers?" Clarissa woke up from her sleep, overhearing the two, and brought out some pills and water for Trevor. "Thank you, miss." "Is it too cold out? Do you need another blanket?" "No, miss. I don't want to trouble you two anymore." Howard and Clarissa woke up right at sunrise to the call of the birds. Howard went out to check on the water levels, and luckily, they would be able to set off again. "Why don't we catch some fish for a change?" "That would be nice. I can make a hot stew for breakfast." Trevor was still sleeping when Howard decided to take his fishing kit and got off the yacht. Clarissa watched him from the deck, casting out the line as she was getting herself ready to join, when suddenly she felt the yacht begin to sail out. As Howard began to shout out from the land. "What are you doing?" Clarissa yelled out. But Trevor only turned with a wicked grin on his face and pointed his gun at her. "Darling, if you want to live, you will do as I say." It was about 2 weeks ago that Trevor had stolen a small boat off the dock of Key Largos and fled from the island. He had been on the run from the police and had successfully crossed over into the Everglades after an hour's journey, escaping the authorities. And since then, he had been hiding out in these mangroves. He planned to travel through the mangrove forest until he would reach Florida's mainlands, where no one would recognize him, until he spotted this yacht. He intended on taking the yacht, but when he saw the beautiful Clarissa, his plan was to take Howard's life, abduct Clarissa, and flee with the yacht. But Howard had been smart enough to seize his arms from him. So Trevor had no choice but to board and wait for the right opportunity. Unfortunately, when he had the yacht to himself in the evening, he couldn't sail off due to the low waters. And later that night, he was unable to retrieve his gun when Howard woke up. But he did finally manage to escape after all. And with the prize, the beautiful Clarissa. Once Trevor had sailed the boat far enough, he slowed down and went to Clarissa, who sat idly to the corner of the deck. "It doesn't suit a beautiful young woman like you to be with an old man like him." But Clarissa didn't even look at him. Trevor sighed as she remained silent, but when Clarissa ignored him, he pushed her down and held the gun at her. "Don't make me need to hurt you. You will do as I say. You don't have to force me. I was already prepared to do as you say." Trevor returned to steer the yacht. After some time, Clarissa came with some leftover roasted chicken and mushroom. "You must be hungry. You didn't eat yesterday. I kept this for you." "Here you go." Clarissa brought the food and served Trevor. "Thank you, darling. You know, my marriage with him was over a long time ago. When I saw you for the first time, I was wishing if I was with someone like you. You thought you were the only one checking me out? You noticed, so you also had your eyes on me." But within a few moments of Trevor eating, he suddenly held his head and ushered her for water. However, just as he was to take a sip, the glass fell from his hands as he fell unconscious. Clarissa immediately seized the gun and tied his hands and legs before she turned the boat around to find Howard. Some hours went by when Howard noticed the yacht again. He ran to board it, storming to Clarissa. "Where is he?" "He's unconscious. Yesterday I found a poisonous wild mushroom. I don't know why I kept it aside. I drugged him with it, but he'll be getting up soon." Howard took his gun and pointed it at the unconscious man. "You sick." When Clarissa caught hold of him, "Wait, Howard, not like this." When Trevor woke up, he felt a numb pain in his head and his stomach. He looked around to find himself on another mangrove island, in the middle of nowhere, with nothing, and Howard and Clarissa sailing off in their yacht. We're going to keep your things, so enjoy surviving out here on your own. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.